Last time, we opened with the differences between partners, and we talked about various examples of differences. The difference between practical and more emotional, between goal and path, between points. I don't remember if we talked about how a man sees things spatially, whereas a woman sees details. Yes, I think we talked about that, and various differences that often lead. If I don't understand this difference, and not only do I not understand it, but I'm not happy with it, it leads. This leads to tensions, it leads to resentments, to misunderstandings. I want to start building another layer and another clarification on these matters. And I want to begin with a brief examination at the start of the creation of the world. The first verse of the creation of the world. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. I am asking a question regarding the understanding of the plain meaning. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. What does created mean? Let's start with the simpler perspective. In the language of the sages, heavens is not what is defined here as heavens. Heavens refer to the celestial, the spiritual, the divine. The sages say that heavens comes from the expression a lot there. What does a lot there mean? It's the place I cannot reach. There's that episode in Sesame Street with Bert and Ernie where they argue, I want to get there, right? Now I'm here, I want to be there. I don't know if they thought about it, that it's so philosophically deep, this episode, but it's a very deep episode. There, in the language of the sages, means the heavenly world. Another explanation, there comes from the words fire and water, the place where everything is one, as opposed to here, where fire and water are separate. So that's the heavens. What is earth then? Earth is our entire world. It's everything. It's the earth, it's everything. It's the stars, it's the galaxies. Everything is considered earth. So then what did he create afterward? But truly, according to the secret, on the first day, the master of the universe creates everything. But how was it created? In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth was good for him. What does good for him mean? Chaos, darkness and light. Darkness and light are mixed together. Disharmony, everything is mixed and everything is disharmonious. What is the state of the heavens, by the way? The heavens were heavenly. They were perfect. In other words, the master of the universe created a world with a disharmonious earth. Perfect. Heavens. And now he begins to bring order. He begins to bring order within the earth. Now this against that God made. Let's understand how this relates to us. The Ramchal says this is also how man was created. Man is composed of two parts, from earth and from heavens. What is the heavens within him? The soul. The soul. What is the earth within him? Only the body. Only the body. Are my traits earth or heavens? Heavens. Heavens. Is it perfect? Are my traits perfect? He must be perfect in terms of he needs to work, to change. You can change from a stream through internal work, right? But that's earth. And therefore, essentially, we were created. Heavens is the soulful part within us. Earth is everything else. And man was created in a disharmonious way. There are many forces within him, many desires. And what does a person do all his life? He organizes. This needs to be placed here. This needs to be placed there. This needs to be reduced. This needs to be increased. This is a tremendous educational foundation. In other words, what is education essentially? When I educate a child, what am I educating him for? To create harmony within him so that all his forces will function properly. A small child, the sages say, has no understanding. What is understanding? Understanding is not wisdom. When we say he has no understanding, it means he lacks the ability to connect things, to create harmony. One moment he loves, the next he hates it, he gets angry. 1 minute he flatters. He lacks the ability for harmony. And now he needs to start creating harmony. And therefore, this is the role of a person. Man was created in the world, heaven and earth. The heavens are the perfect. That is where I aspire to be. I need to elevate the earth within me to the heavenly state. Is this clear so far? Now, another point, according to this, which is immensely important in education and relationships. When I understand that essentially a person is many forces, but disharmonious, a kind of chaos, and now I begin to create order. What is one of the fundamental assumptions I need to have? I take a box with a puzzle. What is the basic assumption there? That all the pieces are there. That all pieces are there. A picture with a frame emerges. A virus represents this. The frame emerges from chattering treatment. That there is order. That one more thing, I need all the pieces. Another thing that I need all the pieces. The fundamental belief I have when I come and open a puzzle box with the kids is that no one has come and taken away half of the pieces. Firstly, all the pieces that are needed are here. Secondly, there is no extra piece here. Thirdly, when all the pieces come together, there will be a picture. This is my trust, which I need to have in myself, in my children, and in my partner. There is a person here, full of strengths, but not a single strength is unnecessary. The person is whole, not perfect, but whole. He needs to constantly strive towards perfection in life. But I believe in him. It can't be if I say about a person, listen, I wish you didn't have this strength. I wish you were as you are, but with less of A, B, C, D. I am essentially not believing in him. I am essentially not believing. It's the same with our children. If I say about my child, he is a wonderful child, but I wish he didn't have A, B, C, then I don't believe in him. Moreover, I don't believe in the Almighty who created something complete. Therefore, faith in diversity is the belief that diversity stems from different forces that are essentially complete. They will only gradually connect. Moreover, it is also the belief that my wife and I are supposed to eventually become whole. Therefore, a man shall leave his father and his mother and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh to become something complete. And this is an immense faith that gives rise to a completely different perspective. And one more sentence, and from this we will move forward. The Ramchal says, in a book called 138 Openings of Wisdom, the Ramchal says, the love of reality connects the parts of reality. When I love reality, harmony is created within reality. The glue that binds the parts is love. I want my child to grow up with inner peace, with inner confidence. What is self-confidence? It is when he believes in himself. He will succeed in combining these forces together into some kind of orchestra that plays a beautiful melody. That is love. The love of reality connects the parts of reality. The same applies to couples. If I create love between myself and my wife, this harmony begins to appear. The parts begin to connect. Her differences and my opposites suddenly it integrates. It doesn't come out as two opposing parts that you try to fit together, but suddenly it's harmonious. How beautiful it is. How the Holy One, blessed be He, combined them. By the way, I'll give you a point to think about, a point of reflection. Many times, when we want to understand what a connection between a couple really is, think about the couples you know around you. Those you define as a successful couple, where you know there is love and everything is fine. How many of those couples would you have matched? And how many do you say, what is the connection between them really? I would never have matched him with her. There is no connection. But suddenly you discover that there is some great harmony there. So firstly, it's the art of the creator of the world who matches couples, but it's this power of harmony. And therefore, the differences we talked about, not only do I need to accept them, I need to believe in them and love them. And this is part of believing in. And therefore, this principle of love your neighbor as yourself is a fundamental principle in faith. And we are on the eve of Yom Kippur. These matters are not only relevant to the eve of Yom Kippur, but on the eve of Yom Kippur, there's a law that a person must ask for forgiveness from someone they have wronged. However, it is stated in the law that there are people from whom one must automatically ask for forgiveness, such as one's spouse. Because the routine of life often strikes at this depth, and we rub against each other, criticize each other, and do not respect each other, often as part of our cultural habits. Notice sometimes how a person answers the phone if they see a caller ID. It's their boss. How do they answer? Hello? How are you? Their spouse? Oh, why? Why? This is what the sages refer to as a crust of contempt for people. These are matters that stand at the pinnacle of the world, and people belittle them. Marriage is the pinnacle of the world. It is the beating heart of everything, of the home. I have said this, and I will say it dozens of times more. A home that has a relationship, that has true love between father and mother, the children grow up with completely different strengths. In this home, there is everything. A home that lacks this, lacks everything. Everything is missing. One of the rabbis in Bar Barav said a very true statement. Rabbi Pyerman said that a woman should prefer a husband who is easygoing, who may not be in the job she wants, over a husband who is not respected at home. Not just in the sense between him and her, but in the sense of what it does to the home. What does it do to the children? When children do not live in a home that has this harmony, which is contagious between parts of reality, which creates love. So today I want to focus on one of the great foundations of elevating love between partners, the ability to truly connect differences and create harmony. And that is a good eye. To delve into it a bit today, we will cover this over several lessons, but let's start with focusing on a good eye. So first of all, I want to open with a source call. The Mishnah in Pirkei Avot says the distinction between the disciples of Abraham our father and the disciples of Balaam the wicked. One of the traits that is a characteristic of the disciples of Abraham our father and the opposite of Balaam is a good eye. Balaam the wicked, an evil eye. Abraham our father, a good eye. Now what is a good eye? So I want to start with turn away from evil. How? First of all, do we remove the obstacles to creating a good eye? Marital obstacles that often prevent us from looking with a good eye. One of the mistaken insights of a couple after marriage is that the wedding brings with it divine inspiration. What does that mean? That now my wife is supposed to know through divine inspiration what I want, what I feel, what I would like her to say to me, and vice versa. I mentioned this, I think, last week. The coffee example, where a wife asks her husband, "Do you want coffee?" He says no. The conversation ends. He asks his wife, "Do you want coffee?" She says no. And that's where the conversation starts. Because now she starts thinking. I told him no. Let's see if he makes it. Why did he ask and not just make it without asking? And I ask a simpler question. Why complicate things? Do you want him to make you coffee even though you said no? Tell him, actually, make me coffee. And it's over. But what? We often think there's some kind of intuition. He doesn't make me coffee, so it means he's not thinking about me. He sat down. That's true. It's not polite. He sat in the living room and got himself a cup of coffee and didn't bring her one. Now she has one of the options. To say to him, my dear husband, make one for me too. He gets up, makes it, or not say anything. Swallow the frog. And now the frog is croaking inside. And croaking and croaking. And there's silence. Is everything okay? Yes, everything's fine. Everything's fine. But it's like this. It swells. And it's distorted. Look at how spoiled it is. When a small child wants something, what does he do? What does he do? He digs, right? He digs. Today he even digs with heavy machinery. I'm afraid to give examples from home. Now it's being filmed. They'll see it in 10 years. He has a natural ability to say what he wants. A child wants a hug, what does he do? He hugs. Right. He tells you, Dad, hug me. Until he starts to spoil and develop emotional complications. Often because we spoiled him or society spoiled him. But why is it so complicated? Why is it complicated between partners?
Quiet, so after making coffee and he doesn't make it, it's after 10 times. She told him, why do you make coffee for yourself and not for me? Maybe next time the husband...
Sometimes there are emotional gaps that are just gaps coming from home. He grew up in a home where, at best, the father moves the pillow he wants to sit on. Make coffee? No way. They don't make it. There's no such option. She grew up in a different home. There's no such option. Bringing his wife coffee and tea and sugar and whatever she wants. That doesn't necessarily mean that husband loves his wife more than the other husband. It's culture. A culture of emotional expression. One grew up in a home where for a birthday party, the father arranges hot air balloons in the sky, surprises, a clown coming out of the cake, and fireworks. While the other grew up in a home where on a birthday they send an SMS saying, Happy birthday, sweetie. Now, which home is more normal? There isn't one. Because there could be a home with fireworks, but throughout the year there's no display of affection. They live only in peaks, and the other home doesn't make a big deal out of birthdays, but they love each other all the time. Now, this gap is an emotional gap sometimes in norms. How do you bridge this gap? By talking in conversation. How much fuss is made over a birthday? If the husband forgot the birthday, oh no. Why oh no? What happened? What happened? I don't remember when it was. I was at some government office. I had to fill out a form, among other things. There was a wedding date. He asked me, what is your wedding date? I don't remember. I tell him, I think in Sivan. She's like this, you see? Her face looks at me with such disdain, and I tell her, wait, I need to call my wife. So she says to me, you're going to call your wife to ask what your wedding date is? Aren't you ashamed? I told her, what happened? I forgot when my wedding date was. What happened? Does that mean I don't love my wife? Is it not good for me in marriage? What happened? What's the matter? I have 6 children, I don't remember their birthdays. So what? I don't love them. What happened? What's the connection? So now what do? So now we test each other. She waits, doesn't say anything. Let's see if he remembers. Let's see. She waits. And the wedding anniversary day arrives. How are you? Are we doing something tonight? No, I don't know. I haven't thought about it. He didn't get the hint. No, it's fine. Why? My dear husband, in 3 days it's our anniversary. What do you say? What will we do on the date? Let's make ourselves happy. Why suddenly try to hang all the happiness of our marriage on something so trivial? Who said this should be the main thing? So every 30 years, surprise each other, okay? But on a daily basis, keep a routine. Mom reminds you, in a week, it's our anniversary. I love the jewelry. In that store, this model, it costs such and such. Everything's fine, right? Don't look for the other one. Not really. Want to build the emotional connection too. The emotional connection also needs to be built. There's no divine inspiration. There's no divine inspiration in a relationship. There isn't. There is communication. And it breeds closeness. And it gradually leads to learning what one likes about the other. Isn't it true that a couple after 10 years doesn't know if his wife likes ice cream, yes or no, then that's a shame. You don't know what your wife likes to eat, and that's a shame. But on the other hand, the day after the wedding, is he supposed to know what she likes to eat? Why? How is he supposed to know? On the contrary, he threw her a surprise birthday party, a gourmet meal. On the first anniversary, he brought everything she hates to eat. What came out of it? What happened? So if she's polite, she'll choke. She won't eat. I grew up in a house where there's no such thing as saying, I don't like it. You eat. In a French household, you eat. I once visited a friend, the first Shabbat I spent outside my home. A close friend like that. There was a Shabbat meal, he tells me. My mom made the house specialty. What? Liver and peas. And back then, I couldn't stand either of them. What to do? It's a Shabbat meal. I ate. The mom, did you like it? Very much. Do you want more? What should I tell her? Happily, she put another plate. All right, I swallowed it. Later, we were alone in the room, my friend and I. And he asked me, so how was the food? Should I tell you the truth? I can't stand either peas or liver. He says to me, then why did you eat? I said, listen, what? Should I offend your mom? Should I tell her I don't like it? He hears this and runs outside. Mom, look at this fool. He can't stand either peas or liver. In a relationship, you shouldn't live like this. In a relationship, you don't love, you say. Do you want it? Say it. By the way, one of the things, the flute-like developments of the matter, is that the ghosts don't rex, but korebnu, that we are not building, but we are even deteriorating it. Aisha, you didn't get her paw. The woman, you didn't get her paw. She is now venting it through gossip with friends. With friends. And what does the friend say to her? It's not terrible, what a sweetie you have. No. Sometimes what the friend says to you, but to you, nothing. Oh, yes, I also feel like loving something like that. And now, too. Oh, yes, really, honestly, our husband is really not much. Well, we will stop here and continue, God willing, next time. I liked it.